Um, and so today we're having a conversation. There's five of us, so it's okay. We can have a conversation. And I hope that you'll participate in the conversation that I want to have with you guys this morning. And it might be a bit of a challenging conversation that I'd like us to have. And I hoped to have a few more young people in the room because I want to challenge them. I want to challenge them to be bold and think differently about what it means to be a Christian. So before we go into that, I just want to hear a few things from you guys. What are some of the things that we dislike about young people today? We're going straight into the good meaty stuff. What do we dislike about young people? And we throw it around all the time. They're so lazy. All they do is watch TV and do nothing. We say that, right? Oh, they're so entitled. They don't want to work for anything that they get. So, what are some of the things that we dislike about young people? Let's hear it. Oh, they're so disrespectful. They don't greet when they see us walk on the side of the road. What else? No sense of urgency. They don't have agency. They don't want to do anything. They wait for things to be put in their hands before they can do something. What else? Come on. I hear you guys talk about young people all the time. Don't be shy. They have attitudes. Batella. What else do we hear about young people? What do we say about them?
A lot of time to meet some young people who say, wow.
Yeah. 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 There's a lot of a wow. I can't believe that all of this can be packed into young people. And I think what often happens with that is we understand and we see how the world is such a horrible place, but can produce such beautiful people. And then we marvel that young people are actually making a difference, or they're good and they're kind and they're generous, despite the context that they come from. And so that brings about that amazement. What else? I want all the bad stuff, not just the nice stuff, all the bad stuff. We're not here to be nice.
But it just gets me with that they huge amount of money for jeans who pulls it.
And you pay extra money to have the holes in your jeans. And we have gloves with holes in them as well, you know? We don't understand. What else? I'll show you. Can I show you what?
There's a real disconnect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was a child in the 60s, and I knew what let's call it the older people forcing mean, bro. And what I don't think it's much has changed in the last 50 years, 60 years. Yeah, I mean, I do think there's that's so mean with it will say in the second half of from the second half during the century, that disconnect between, let's call it older people and young has grown. I don't know what it's up for, but it's, yeah, I don't hear myself saying things about that people that I knew that they didn't say about me when I was a set. I didn't know that part.
You're on the other side. Oh, you young people.
I think another thing is that since society has brought what we've got, Paul, so society as adults, we need to have children that other societies say, what a bunch of rats.
Yeah.
But it's come from their parental generation, the way that we brought up.
Yeah.
So either the last 20 years that the discipline, the way children are brought up, that just be this whole nice child does deserve hiding. You're not allowed to give your child a mark in the school, take out discipline. So I think that's also a product of what we're seeing in children to hear.
I agree that this generation of partners have been more involved with the children than any other black people studying the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see those things because I think young people, and often when we have conversations around Youth Day, we talk about the possibilities of the future and how young people can reverse some of the mistakes of the past. But also, it's important to look back and think about what happened in the past so that we can shift and change things. And bad experiences, talking about bad parental experiences can do two things. One, it can turn you into your parent. Two, it can want you to be different to who your parents were. And I don't know what the science is or whether it's just the grace of God that some people go the other direction. But we learn from what we see. We learn through actions, not through words. And we live in a world where appearance and the appearance of certain things defines who we are and not our actions and not our behaviors. And that's really what I want to challenge us today. I hope there were young people, so I'm challenging us here to challenge young people because there's a lot of appearance thriving around how I look rather than who I am. I want to show you guys a video. This really irks me. This is what I don't like about young people.
About 12 years ago, I decided to take a cruise. And what I learned from that, when once the plotted and police and the creating fathers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even when we reflect about the advent of mining in South Africa, what that did to the family household, fathers had to leave their wives and children in the homeland so that they come into the city to make a living. And children lived most of their time looking in the distance, waiting and longing for a father. And sometimes they died far away from home, without any real love, without any real care. So it's important, I think, to remember some of those things.
I've got to add on that. We were exactly like 1 years. All the old men in the area that you are could speak funny the rules. So, well, then, get rid of the sweet throat. It was exciting when they heard I was coming. They almost gathered together because they wanted to speak this old language that they speak at the mines in South Africa. So, literally, every village I went to, the older men there had worked in South Africa on the mines. And they used to go what they called an NVDB, which they get on a plane, fly to Zimbabwe, and catch a train to South Africa. Thousands of men that then owned for houses. So that stretches right up in. Yeah.
I think it's for us all to learn from that, and just ask questions around what lessons do we want to take from it. But today I want to challenge young people and help us challenge young people, because if we are to cultivate a biblical worldview for the future of the church, it needs us to live in a particular way that inspires a life that reflects Christ. And so when we look to young people, we should actually look to us. We should ask ourselves the questions. Are we reflecting what we want to be reflected in them? I watch my daughter sometimes and she says things. And I wonder, wait, that's naughty. Where do you get that from? And it's always out there. It's never, oh, goodness, what did I do? How did I get that into my child? And so it's important for us to think about it from our own perspectives. So this is what I hate about young people. Hate is a strong word, but it really irks me. How do I go next, Caleb? Must I switch it on? It is on. Where do I point?
Sticky on it.
There we go. Yeah, that's okay.
For social media content, first her friend filmed her grabbing a rubbish bag. Then she did a performance of struggling to carry bags in the wind. After she celebrated her good work with a dance, she just left the trash back there and left. Social media works both ways, girl.
How does that make you feel?
I see.
How does that make you feel? It's a question. How does that make you feel, people? Irritated. Lied to. Disgusted. So the advent of social media has some beautiful things that come with it. And I like to talk about this social media and the impact that it has on young people, because we can't always predict what it will do, the impact that it will have. But what I noticed about a lot of the young people that we work with is social media has led to this obsession with image, what appears to be. And so we spend most of our time investing energy and time into using filters to look different to what we look. We'll spend so much time working on filters so that we can stand in front of the mirror and look like we don't have big stomachs. We do that. Or we spend so much time and energy pretending and sounding intelligent, sounding and looking like something we are not. So social media is this beautiful place where we compare ourselves against other people who are constantly representing a false sense of reality and identity. And that's what we use as a benchmark for ourselves. And that's what we compare as young people, talking from young people's perspective. And so we spend energy, time, work in working on a false representation of us. And the reality is, unfortunately, that Christianity, young people in Christianity, anybody, this is not immune to that. We also do the same things. Our Facebook post, Instagram, WhatsApps, we have in our bios, we have God-fearing, lover of God, God first. How many times do we hear that? In the mornings, we wake up and we find a nice Bible verse that we'll post in our WhatsApp groups. Every Sunday when we come to church, we pin location, child of God. But the rest of the week looks different. The rest of the week does not say child of God. The rest of the week does not say the chosen one. The rest of the week is not what we post on social media. And we see this in Christianity all the time. And that is my big fear and challenge with young people, is that they're being sold a picture of what it means to be witnesses of Christ that is false and is inaccurate. We have this way of watering down this beautiful revolutionary story of a God that really loves us, that really cares about it, that cares about every ounce of who we are. We water it down just so that when we tell people about it, we're scared that we might offend them. Because this beautiful story comes at a cost. There's nothing that's good for you that isn't painful. I can't think of anything. If you can, then you can tell me. Chocolate is not good for you. It will bring pain in other ways. If you want to run a marathon, what do you need to do? You need to strain your body. If you want to gain knowledge and intelligence, what do you need to do? You need to exercise your brain. And you need discipline to do the things that you don't want to do, and do the things that you need to do, and run away from the things that you really want to be doing. It's pain. It's difficult. but we are sometimes guilty when we talk about this beautiful revolutionary story of watering it down. I think we've all heard this song, I Am a Friend of God. He calls me friend. I like the song, but I don't like the song. I like the song because it shows a side of God that is close, near. But at the same time, even though God can have these traits and qualities of a friend, he's your God first. He's not your friend. I can be nice and friendly with my daughter. We can have nice games, play. At the end of the day, I'm still a father. And so sometimes even the songs that we sing water down the magnitude of the fact that we have this incredible Father that can hold the universe in his palm. And we diminish him to just being a friend. And we say, oh, that is God. And then when we go out and say we are creating a generation of new foot soldiers for the kingdom of God, that is the weapon that we are giving them. A lukewarm sword. And say, go to war, son. Go and win souls for the kingdom. It can never be. And so today I want to look through a challenging scripture. It's challenging for me. And I think we'll have some time to sit around and debate and have conversations and wrestle with it. But I want to look at Acts chapter 5, verse 1 to 11. But before I get there, I want to give us a bit of a prelude leading up to it. So the book of Acts, I think at this stage of this period in history, it was the beginning of a church. If anyone has ever tried to start a business, have a little startup, try to start a church, you understand that the early stages are critical in setting the tone for where you're going. But the early stages are also where a lot of the mistakes happen. And so in this period, in the book of Acts, the congregation of the church, which wasn't even designated as the church yet, it was a group of people in fellowship trying to figure out how they can bear witness to what Jesus has just done on the cross. And so there were a lot of beautiful things. We saw signs and wonders. We saw people doing what Christ said they would do. You will do and you will achieve far more greater than I did. This is what we're seeing. And so, leading up to Acts 5, I want to give the prelude. Acts 4, I think it's, 36, 32 to 36. And it says, while the congregation of believers was united as one heart, one mind, they didn't even claim ownership of any possession. No one said, that's mine, you can't have it. They shared everything. The apostles gave powerful witness to the resurrection of the Master Jesus, and the grace was on all of them. And so it turned out not a single person among them was needy. Those who owned fields or houses sold them and brought the price of sale to the apostles and made an offering. The apostles then distributed it amongst each person of need. Joseph, called by the apostle Barnabas, which means son of comfort, a Levite born of Cyprus, sold a field that he owned, brought the money, and made an offering to the apostles. And so there are just two things I want to highlight from that. Is The first one, I get a sense that the early Christians or the early followers of the way, as we would then know them to be, they knew that in order for us to follow Christ, there is a cost and there is a price. And they knew that this cost and price wasn't superficial, but all-encompassing. It meant my entire life needs to change. Not parts of my life, not certain areas, but everything. To the point of selling our possessions, sharing and giving to those who need. It's a tough ask, right? I don't hear this cost being spoken about a lot when we talk about following Christ. Do you? And the funny thing is, even in society, circular areas, communities that people generally buy into, they understand the concept of cost for things that are good for them, or things that they think are good for them. If we look at gangs, what happens? People work so hard to get into gangs, they will do absolutely anything. Initiation rituals. Completely painful exercises that people go through just to be accepted and find belonging. I mean, there's a fascinating stat around Cape Town, and this is 2010, saying that there's approximately 90 to 150 gangs just in the Western Cape, which amount to close to 100,000 gang members. And that was back then. Majority of them, young. Between ages 12 and 25. And so when we talk about young people and say, they're lazy, they don't want to work. When we look at other parts of society, we are told a different story. We are just not telling a compelling enough story for them to buy into. We aren't, as Christians. We're not inspiring them to sacrifice and change their ways to follow in this journey. Because we preach a watered down Christianity. There are many other stories of how people will sacrifice and go to great lengths just to find belonging. I mean, we do it even in friendship. You listen to your friend's songs that you really, really dislike, just so that you can still hang out with them. We wear suits to work, knowing very well that we don't like wearing suits, just to fit in. We all do it in different spaces and settings within our lives. We make sacrifices to find belonging, to fit in. Why is it different when it comes to following Christ? Why can we not have the same high standards to say, if you say you want to follow Christ, if you say you want to be on this journey, you need to do some serious introspection that needs you to shift and change. Look at yourself differently. Look at the things that you do. I mean, I was thinking, while planning this conversation, I was thinking that young people, not just in South Africa, in the world, we've lost the fear of God. We've lost the fear of God. We don't even know what it means to fear God because we don't have a sense of awe in what has happened and what Jesus Christ did on the cross. And we continue as Christians to live a life. And when I say preach, I'm not talking about using our words. I'm talking about the lives that we live. We preach through our actions, watered down experiences for people. Because they see our posts, but then they interact with us and they realize, you just peanut butter in a jam container. So it's not what we expected. The second thing that we notice about the early church in this part as they were giving things away is that it was hard for outsiders not to notice. Their works were noticed even by those that disliked them. They were set apart, not because they intentionally went out to be different, but because they were intentional about showing and loving one another and demonstrating what it means to love one another. And so when we take this thing seriously, when we make decisions to shift and transform, we're able to impact and influence those outside without even using words. It's a nice idea, but unfortunately for the young people today, and we'll get to the next part, which is a bit of a kicker for me, is they see this beautiful grace that God has bestowed upon faithful servants. And they like the appearance, but they don't like the cost of it. They don't like the cost that it takes for them to be there. And so we'll put makeup on ourselves. We'll add nice Instagram posts. We'll sing gospel in the mornings. We'll shout at the top of the roof. But inside, I think it was Jesus that said, "Woe to you, you Pharisees." Huh? What are you like? You're like whitewashed tombs. Beautiful on the outside, but deep, deep down inside, you have rotten bones withering away. And so how can we not be like the Pharisees? How can what is on the outside represent and reflect what's on the inside? And so what I'd like us to do is maybe in groups of 5 at a table, I want us to then dig into this next part. Acts 5 verses 1. The story of Ananias and Sapphira. Have any of you read the story before? Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. This is one of the Bible verses I wrestled with and I didn't like. I think we sometimes go through Bible verses and we find the ones that make us happy, nah? This one made me very unhappy. And I'm being honest. Because as we read through this part, and I'll get us to sit around in circles and share, but as we look through this story, we're confronted with the reality of the impact of our hypocrisy. Because that's really what it is, what we're doing on social media, right? We've allowed hypocrisy to seep in without us even noticing. False representations of our true selves. It's hypocrisy. Am I wrong? Am I right? But we don't see it as hypocrisy because it's just become such a normal way of life. The other day I was having a conversation and facilitating a workshop around unconscious bias. And one of the things that I thought of and that stuck is sometimes our actions even betray our intentions. And so just to have good intentions is not good enough. To intend to be a good Christian is not good enough. Young people. Because our intentions are not our behaviors and they let us down. And so the trick and the journey is how can we grow our intentions closer to our behaviors? How do we move closer? This is really where I want to be. What do I need to do to get there? And so in groups, I'd like us to read this verse. As you're reading through it, I want you to discuss 2 things. 1, what stands out for you? 2, what challenges you? Because what stands out and what challenges you could be different. I actually have a 3rd one. 3, what does this mean for young people in South Africa? What stands out for you? What challenges you? And what does this mean for young people in South Africa? And the other side of that question is, what does it mean for you? And what do you need to be doing for young people in South Africa?